Time now for Zombie Takeout, brought to viewers everywhere in the hope that our own lives may be uplifted by the comparison and enriched by the gratitude of relief. This transmission is unrehearsed and unedited and is hereby begun without further comment as to its lack of moral value. Hello and welcome to Zombie Takeout, the B-movie and cult movie show. I'm John.
And I'm Scotto.
And before we get to this week's movie, we have, of course, since this is the end of the year, our last episode of the year, our best and worst of the year lists. What do we normally start with? I can never remember.
I don't know.
I think let's go with worst.
Okay.
My list got a little. I have my best and worst next to each other in a text file, and it got a little altered. Okay. Starting with worst. I suspect the entire Stone trilogy is going to end up on our worst lists between the two of us. At number 5, The Hand. This is one of two that I have barely remember watching.
And I wish I didn't.
And at number 4, the one I actually don't remember watching, I had to watch the trailer to jog my memory at all. Deathstalker 2.
That lands on mine.
Like I honestly remembered nothing about it. I was surprised when I saw it on the list, and I looked at the trailer. I'm like, oh yeah, that thing.
Forget. I was like, I can't believe I've seen that thing twice now in my lifetime.
And at number 3, Dressed to Kill. So disappointing. I had high hopes for that one before I watched it. And speaking of disappointment, number 2, Spies, Lies, and Naked Thighs. Unfortunately, that was our Harry Anderson tribute.
Yeah. Oof. Right, that was a very regretful tribute.
Yeah.
We should have just watched a couple episodes of Night Court.
Yeah. Well, we did that too, but yeah, we should have just turned that into do like one of their trilogies or the multi-part things and called that a movie. And at number 1, Natural Born Killers. Now the second movie I have vowed to never watch again. And I should point out, I did not make that vow with Mazes and Monsters. It's just Showgirls and Natural Born Killers.
Okay. 5, I've got Mega Snake, which I barely even remember, which is why it's only at number 5.
That's the one set in the South, I think, with Michael Shank, I think, or Shankman.
Or was that the one where they kind of like did the swallow the fly thing, where they came up with another snake to get rid of the other snake?
It was the one in the South. Boa versus Python was the one with Rodney McKay.
Oh, you're right. Wow.
That one was good.
All right. Spies, Lies, Naked Thighs, The Hand, Deathstalker, and the worst thing we've seen all year, hands down, the Star Wars Holiday Special.
It didn't land on either of my lists.
Oh my god. This is the worst movie we've probably seen in years, I think.
This will be an interesting review, because, I mean, we're not going to completely split. It didn't make my best list, but, it landed right in the middle for me. And I'll explain why after my best of the year list. And again, I think most of this we'll agree with because we had like 6 double 5s. At number 10, the one that I know won't be on your list because you didn't watch it, Perfume, the story of this, I can't remember the subtitle, Story of a Murderer, I think. Really interesting movie, highly recommend it. At number 9, The Last Jedi. Want to walk back something I said during that review. Because at the end, I ultimately ended up agreeing with you and Roberto that something different should have happened in that big battle when Luke showed up. Having thought about it, I like what they did. Because he couldn't have gotten to the planet. They showed his X-Wing underwater. I don't care what kind of force powers he uses. He could lift it out, but he's not going to make... He's not a repairman. He can't replicate parts.
Are you saying he's Dr. McCoy?
It was I'm a
Jedi, not a repairman.
He can't fix the ship. He can't replicate bad parts. Rusted out parts. So he couldn't have gotten to the planet. And the whole point was saving what you love instead of killing what you hate. So the fact that he didn't really do any damage fits. He was just a distraction. Okay, number 8, Pulp Fiction. 7, Shaft. 6, Silverado. Probably my favorite Western. Granted, I'm not a Western fan. At number 5, What We Do in the Shadows, hands down the best vampire movie ever. Number 4, The Zero Theorem. And these next three really could have gone in. They were all contenders for number 1. I really had to consider this. At number 3, Lord Love a Duck, way ahead of its time, an absolute masterpiece. At number 2, Princess Bride, one of, I'm going to say, the 3 to 5 essential comedies.
Yeah.
Princess Bride, Airplane, Grail, maybe Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, and Kentucky Fried Movie. One of the comedies you definitely need to see. And unsurprisingly, at number 1 for the anime geek, Grave of the Fireflies. I cried 3 times when I saw it the first time a few years ago, and even knowing what was going to happen, I cried again this time. Rest in peace, Takahata-sama.
Yeah, a lot of our lists, we got a lot of the same things here.
Yeah, I didn't pull out the bad movie that I decided to put on the list, my best list, because it amused me this year.
I've got Neil Stryker and the Tyrant of Time at number 10. The same place that you had Last Jedi, I've got it at number 9 also. What We Do in the Shadows, I think a movie which I regret only giving 4.5 to and not
Okay.
5.
Yeah, because that seemed like a bit low for that kind of movie. And I'd rarely ever say that about 4.5.
And I think, it's a movie I think back on. So yeah, I would, if I were reviewing it again, I would definitely change that to a 5. Grave of Fireflies, 7. Zero Theorem, 6. Lord Love a Duck, 5. I think a movie you did not have on your list, Stitches.
Yeah, I give it a 4.5. I didn't need to
I
research to my 4.5s.
think I got a 4.
Well, no, except for Perfume and Last Jedi, which I think just edged it out.
And of course, my 3 iconic movies: Shaft, Princess Bride, and probably my favorite movie of all time, Pulp Fiction.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I was, like I said, I rarely would say, you should have gone higher on a 4.5, but
What
we
we
in
do in the shadows. Yeah.
All right, so on to this week's movie, which is, as you mentioned, the Star Wars Holiday Special from 1978, and of course, the impromptu plot summary, sponsored by Paychex. Everybody needs one.
Also brought to you by a pillow. Why couldn't someone have smothered me with one of those while I was trying to watch this? I really would not have put up much of a fight. I mean, especially if you came in during that Wookiee scene in the beginning. I like 10 minutes of that, and I would just been like, all right, sure.
So, continue. I'm curious to see how you're going to do a plot summary in this one.
All right. So it is Life Day for our hero Chewbacca, and he's going to. I mean, on paper, this actually is not a bad plot to a movie. They're risking their lives for him to get to his home, to see his family on this holiday, and so they're running a rebel blockade, or they're running a blockade, an Imperial blockade.
Chewie.
Yeah, Han and Chewie and the Falcon, and they kind of go missing, so they don't hear from him. So we are punished by just seeing his Chewbacca's family.
But they periodically cut back to show Han and Chewie and the Falcon.
Not enough. That is a long time to be spending. People complain about the desert scenes in A New Hope, but at least there's something going on there. Granted, they're traveling, but this, yes, and there are all sorts of weird interruptions, including something that resembled Wookiee porn, I believe.
Kind of. It kind of led you to believe that. It was odd.
And then, the Imperials watched a Jefferson a Starship, number, and different TV shows, including of stuff going on at Mos Eisley Cantina, which really, that was just like the absolute rock bottom that anything could hit. Like, just when you thought it could get any worse, they had D. Arthur sing, and it was like,
the musical number particularly, that was the worst of it, I think.
I mean, it was just kind of at a bad level, and then they had her sing, and I was like, yes, this
this is one of the worst things I've seen in a long time, probably since Mazes and Monsters.
Actually, no. There's one worse musical number I had to skip over. It's the only. It's this is the only time I've kind of sort of tapped out. It's the very
I
end of.
should have. I
It's
didn't.
it was the very end of the movie that I just skimmed over. Carrie Fisher singing at the end. I had to skip.
Oh, that was just embarrassing. Well, I don't think that's even the worst musical number in this. I mean, B. Arthur, of course, but there were all these other like dance troupe things that they did, and bad special effects, even for that time period. And then yeah, whatever the Wookiee porn was really awful too.
Diane Carroll.
Diane Carroll.
Just singing, not an actual porn thing. They just make you think it's going to be porn, or they lead you to believe that this trader is giving him Wookiee porn.
Well, right. It's just, wow, really, she's hot, that sort of thing.
Mhm.
And there really was not much of a plot, but
Well,
of course,
except at some point the Imperials show up at the Chewbacca house and raid the place,
yeah. So then
looking
it's
for
like
Imperial paraphernalia.
the Diary of Anne Chewbacca Frank. I don't know what it was. So then we have this very odd thing. If you imagine like Chewbacca in the Diary of Anne Frank, but right. So they get tricked into being called back to the station by the kid setting up some toy radio thing, and then of course Han kills the only other guard there, so Chewbacca can visit his family, and they can do whatever occult ritual it is they do in red robes.
And then there's an animated thing in the middle that's actually pretty good, I thought. It's considered the best part of it by a lot of people.
I mean, he was trying to do a lot here. He was trying to spin off a few things. I don't think the Star Wars cartoon ever got, traction from this, did it?
Well, there was droids and Ewoks, but nothing. I think those have been, and up until recently, of course.
Well, no, I mean from that time, like
no, that storyline was never spun out into a cartoon. No.
Like he was thinking of spinning this out,
Mm-hmm. Incidentally, that was the first appearance of Boba Fett.
Right. I've generally heard that, and I've generally stayed away from this for so long because all you had to tell me was that B. Arthur sang in it, and I wisely knew never to watch this.
Hilarity ensues.
Hilarity ensued.
So while outlining the original Star Wars and planning its potential sequels, Lucas imagined a film just about Wookiees, nothing else. While working on the special, writer Bruce Valanche, who was one of the writers on it,
of course,
was concerned about the decision to center the special on a species who grunt in a fictional language without subtitles, and feared that the special would turn into one long episode of Lassie. Regardless, Lucas wouldn't budge. So all of the scenes with Chewbacca's family, not subtitled.
Right.
It's Wookiees, no subtitles, and his father, presumably, is named Itchy, and his son is named Lumpy.
Yeah.
They have longer names, but those, I think, were added later to kind of try to legitimize it. and the Chewbacca, I'm going to just call them the Chewbacca family.
Yeah.
Their house looks very 70s.
Oh, right. I mean, they were really trying to make it like this whole, almost a sitcom thing of the Wookiee family.
And I don't know. I see. I came into this expecting it to be shit. It's all about expectation management, as I've talked about before. And I thought there was something surrealistically amusing about this incomprehensible family with no subtitles.
I mean, I thought it was a Christmas special, so they were going to like just not try to do a story. I was kind of surprised they were even attempting a story here.
Mm-hmm.
And the reality is, they shouldn't have.
I did think the holographic circus was hilariously weird.
But even for 78 standards, those were really terrible effects. And
well, yeah, it's a TV special. What do you expect?
Lucasfilm, man. Lucasfilm, that's what I expect.
He's got one thing to do.
See, I think this is where the division is. If you look at this as sacred Star Wars being defiled, it's horrible. If you go into it expecting 70s cheese, it's amusing.
I don't even think. Yeah, I was even holding it. I don't think I've ever really held it up as a sacred thing
True.
to not defile. I'm just looking for. I don't know. If they're going to attempt a story, they should have at least done something better than this. They. I would have accepted if it was just one of those 70s variety shows with, and now kind of link it together,
right?
Instead of doing this whole Chewbacca and Frank thing. Just really weird.
Also, this is the first time I've seen English anywhere in context in a Star Wars thing. There was English on one of the screens.
Oh.
Because the audience had to read it, and it was a TV audience who didn't know Star Wars, so they weren't going to understand, Arabish.
Right.
I have to wonder why Mark Hamill and Carrie Fisher were so weirdly tan. Must have been TV makeup. I don't know.
I don't know.
They both kind of had the Oompa Loompa thing going, especially Mark Hamill because of the blonde hair.
Yeah, that first scene, he looked really weird. Like when he was in the X-wing, pilot outfit.
When they called him, yeah.
Yeah, he looked really weird in that. I mean, was it around Corvette Summer? I don't know.
I'm wondering because I don't think it was after his accident, because he still looked normal. He still looked like he did in the first movie.
Before his accident.
Maybe it was Corvette Summer. Maybe he was just weirdly tan. But so was Carrie Fisher, which is why I'm thinking it was makeup.
Yeah.
Art Carney phoned it in like everybody, but it kind of worked.
He's the only thing I'm going to give
really?
praise for this
whole
thing, actually.
Which is surprising that just him, because I'm not necessarily rating it for him. He does mention a proton energy pack, which was an interesting touch, like years ahead of Ghostbusters.
Right.
And I did like the first scene with Vader when he's talking to the officer. Clearly a scene cut out of the movie.
Oh yeah. They just recycled a few scenes in the movie, which that's forgivable.
Well, it wasn't recycled; it was actually a deleted scene.
Oh really?
They fit into it, yeah. Also, since James Earl Jones wasn't originally credited in Star Wars,
I was going to say this is the first time he was ever credited with the voice.
Yep. And Kenny Baker refused to play R2, or I don't know if he refused to or just had conflicts. So it was a remote control R2.
That's my first note, actually. No love for Kenny Baker, and then
he wasn't in it. No, he was
notes in the front of the opening credits of this.
It was a remote control R2 controlled by Lucas's receptionist.
Chewbacca's wife just looks like Chewbacca, with more expressive eyes, kind of.
I don't know what happened to Itchy, the father.
He became Henry with Henry and the Hendersons.
Yeah, well, he was just kind of odd looking,
Harry and the Hendersons. I'm sorry.
Looks
like that. But
Imala and Lumpy just kind of looked like Chewie, but Itchy looked weird. The Chewbacca family was designed by Stan Winston, incidentally. So maybe we should have expected better. The thing that saved it for me in a lot of ways is Harvey. I can't say the thing. The person was Harvey Korman.
I didn't understand why he was even there, honestly.
I mean, he was there for a paycheck, like everybody.
Well, right. Well, I know that, but like those roles, why would you say, "Get me Carmen"?
Was he Corman at that point?
Oh,
or was he that big at that point?
I mean, he's probably from the Carol Burnett show.
That's fair.
And stuff.
When I saw Harvey, I'm gonna flip his name, Harvey Korman in drag doing a cooking segment, and then with an extra arm, that's when it started getting better for me.
But I mean, isn't this even the same year as Americathon, or like at least a year before?
Close to it, yeah. True. And when was Blazing Saddles?
Way before this.
Oh, it was way before that. Okay.
Yeah, I think that was 74.
Okay.
I could be wrong.
And yes, Kazook was the original name of Kashyyyk.
Okay.
They didn't make that up for the special. No, that was the original name.
An odd way of pronouncing Kashyyyk. Yeah, that's right. 74.
Okay. The scenes with Han and Chewie could have been cut from could have been also scenes from the movie, except for references to Life Day and the fact that they were shot on videotape.
Yeah.
And of course, now we have the VR porn. This trader, played by Eric Carney, shows up at their house to bring them some stuff. One of them is apparently this disc or this media, VR media that he gives to Itchy, that he says is something really hot, or kind of gives the impression that it's porn. Itchy watches it. It's just this psychedelic light show, and then we have Diane Carroll singing in a pink wig.
In an outfit that I swear Lil' Kim.
Yeah.
wore
So
not
it
that
kind
long
of
ago.
almost was VR porn, but then she started singing.
Yeah. Something completely different happened.
And the musical numbers are really the only thing that lost me.
Oh, right.
I mean, there were points during hers that it was that kind of entertained me because it was so overdone and overwrought. They had the Doctor Who effect, and this was after Tom Baker, so they did it with him first, where you have the kind of the trail backward from her face.
Yeah.
And I think Carrie Fisher and Mark Hamill were at least trying. Gotta give them a little credit for that.
It was amazing. But then again, they're probably so happy because they've just become so wealthy from this movie. But it's like, let's see what more we can do with this, kind of thing.
Hamill tries to avoid talking about it. Harrison Ford says, I don't, whenever it comes up in an interview, I don't remember it and I didn't watch it, so there's no point in asking about it. and Carrie Fisher used to put it on at the end of parties to get people to leave. She's the only one who ever would talk about it.
Because, I mean, come on. The scene with the Wookiee, once that starts, if you're still there watching it, I don't know what I can say.
And I did cringe a bit at a lot of it, but particularly Wookiee cookies. There was some kind of cookie.
Yeah.
And apparently the traitor invented the wallet.
Oh.
that I did get a little kick out of. Now my best part, or my favorite part, I should say, the best part, the Jefferson Starship performance. So beautifully 70s, a bit ahead of its time, a little hair metal in some ways.
Who was that lead singer anyway?
Marty Ballin.
Oh, yeah?
He's such a great voice. I mean, he was so underrated. I mean, he was basically singing a hair metal vocal on that.
Yeah.
And you would never have expected that from Marty Ballin. I do want to comment on some of the lyrics, though. At the end of the chorus, will vanish without a trace in a cigar-shaped object. A blunt, maybe?
Maybe.
So I got to the halfway mark and I actually realized I was enjoying it.
My only notes about, is this Starship or the Village People?
Yeah. Actually, the Starship performance, I gotta say Jefferson Starship, always got to clarify that. Was the end of that was almost exactly the halfway mark.
Was it? Okay. That's when my notes start trailing off, actually. I mean, before that, they were making banthas on Kashyyyk,
The kid has a little stuffed bantha. Oh, and yeah, Itchy was carving a bantha, right?
Yeah. It was Ron Jeremy and Imperial Guard.
And then we get to the raid. The Imperials raiding the family. The traitor was originally based. That character was the origin of Lando.
Okay.
Yeah, Lando was kind of based on him. And obviously improved. The raid was a good idea, but the lead Imperial just was horrible.
Yeah.
The officer was bad.
I'd say my favorite part of this whole thing was Art Carney doing the little Ed Norton bit with the Imperial Guard when he's like looking to show him the
Yeah. He phoned it in. He was obviously, not even trying, but he was still funny. Then we get to the cartoon. The animation was iffy and kind of ridiculous, but I liked it. It did establish that Boba wasn't human.
Oh, yeah.
Which I think they retconned. He was human after all. Well, yeah, because he was a clone. In the prequels, they established he was a clone. If you want to consider the prequels.
I don't know. I mean, do you want to consider that human or not? Or clones human?
Well, they're clones of humans.
That's true.
They found a human to clone.
Well, was he clone of a human or?
I'm pretty sure he was a human. Actually, I don't know. That's actually a good question. Star Wars geeks out there, let us know. Because I
he
don't want to.
certainly looked human, of course. But I mean, that doesn't necessarily mean he was human.
That's true. That's true.
I mean, Han Solo's Corellian, right?
Well, but they're human. That's just another planet. That just
That's
means he's
true.
from that planet.
That's true.
Interrupting the cartoon was an interesting choice.
Yeah.
And I did like the glitching Harvey Korman. They have him on a screen doing a commercial, and he's just kind of glitching.
Yeah, to fit the commercial break in.
Yeah,
the cartoon.
And then we get to the cantina, which it looked like a setup for a bad comedy sketch, and that's what it turned out to be.
Oh yeah.
Corman, for me, made it watchable until she started singing.
I guess Corbin in that role wasn't that bad.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he was a little weird, but he was more weird than funny.
Oh yeah,
in this whole thing, really.
I think that's why I enjoyed it.
Like the cooking thing, like they could have easily gotten like Phyllis Diller or somebody like that to have done something like that. It was kind of.
I think Corman in drag was was more entertaining than Phyllis Diller would have been.
I don't know. I mean, it was like not even referenced, It was just like, here's Corman in drag doing this thing, just cooking. And the joke was he had multiple arms cooking, and yeah. Bruce Valanche. There's a reason why he doesn't actually write real things.
Now, during the musical number in the cantina when B. Arthur was singing, I needed a distraction. I did notice that there were little bits of the Cantina Band song in there.
Oh yeah.
And I was suddenly reminded of the name of the genre of music that Figure and Dan and the Modal Nudes play. Do you know this?
It's well, wasn't it just like an electronic swing kind of thing?
Well, that's what it actually was, but
Yeah.
in universe, what do they? You know what they call it? It's one letter off from an actual genre of music, and also not a euphemism, but a term for something else.
Sling music?
No. Brace yourself.
Okay.
Everyone watching or listening, brace yourself.
All right.
And I swear this is the truth. I am not lying about this. You can look it up on Wikipedia. Or Wikipedia, I should say.
Yeah.
It's called jizz.
It's very aptly named.
I was suddenly reminded of that hearing that song.
That's
yeah,
very accurate.
And of course, I got to call out the Wilhelm at 1:24:11 when the stormtrooper goes.
I've got it. Yeah, I'm like, I found the Wilhelm.
And then it ends, or almost ends, with Chewie and Mala. Because of course Chewie gets home, and Han kills the Imperial. Yada yada. Big happy reunion. And Chewie and Mala almost kiss. It was kind of disturbing. Because they kind of get close and they're about to, kiss or rub noses or whatever Wookiees do. And then they just kind of hug. And it was just a weird moment of what is going to happen here. Are they going to try to kiss in those masks?
Wookiee orgy.
No. And of course I had to skim through. Not even skim, just skip over Carrie Fisher's song at the end. I listened to a few seconds of it and just couldn't. Too much cringe.
And wasn't this Chewbacca has a flashback of the whole movie?
Okay, yes, you're right. I remember that part now. Yeah.
Just to shoehorn some spots of the movie, like, hey, remember these guys?
Yeah. And on to sequels and remakes. Lots of sequels, of course.
Yes.
Not even going to bother trying to list everything. And fortunately, no one has ever remade it.
I mean, if you want to do it, why not have Jackie Gleason as a transport driver on Yavin 5?
Okay. There we go.
Not my friend. But
on the brains.
On the brains.
Going in expecting shit, I actually found it kind of entertaining. I can't recommend it, but I'm going to go 3. I will recommend it to Star Wars fans. If you haven't seen it, you must. It's a rite of
No.
it's a rite of passage.
You really should avoid it. Your inner voice is telling you to ignore this movie, and listen to it. It's right. No good will come of it.
I say it's a rite of passage. Love it or hate it.
I'll give it a brain for Art Carney. I wish I'd never seen this. May God have mercy on their souls.
And what have we learned?
They canceled both Wonder Woman and the Incredible Hulk for this shit. Fuck them.
And I learned that Harvey Korman can make anything better. All right, that's it for the Star Wars Holiday Special.
If only.
Until next year, of course, when we'll be starting off 2019 with a 2019 series. Was that a sextilogy?
Yeah, I don't even know. We're just going to do as many 2019 movies as we can.
Currently planning 6 movies set in 2019, starting with 2019 after the fall of New York, also including Running Man, Blade Runner, a few others that I can't. The Island. One other B movie I'm blanking on the name of.
It's gonna be trouble though.
And one weird ass college movie.
If I remember right, Blade Runner and the Island, not Blade Runner, the Island and the Running Man were very similar movies, if I remember right.
So we'll put them together and kind of AV them.
Yeah.
All right, that's it. Until next year, always remember, never forget, wherever you go in life, there you are.
There you are.